Hello and a very warm welcome to Business Today TV. I am Chetan Bhutani. Well, Maruti Suzuki has come out with its set of numbers for the month of February, and today I am joined by Shashank Srivastava, Senior Executive Officer with Maruti Suzuki. Shashank-san, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Sir, give us the numbers, a highlight of what the numbers really are. Again, we are saying about 8 to 9% odd growth the company has witnessed. Could you give us the highlights, sir?
Yeah, so if you look at the industry, Chetan, industry figure for wholesale for this month of February was about 3,73,000 units. Uh, this is 11.3% growth over last year's number. Last year number was 335,000. So pretty good growth, I would say. And as you rightly mentioned, Maruti Suzuki also growing quite well, 160,300 versus 147,500 of last year. That's a growth of about 8.7%, uh, resulting in a market share of almost 43%. But and this is, by the way, the third highest wholesale number ever we have seen in the industry in any month of any year. So the previous highest being January, and earlier the number two was October of 2023. So it's been an overall a good year so far. And if you look at the cumulative basis, then cumulative basis this year already 38.59 lakhs have been breached in the industry against 35.53 lakh last year. That's again a growth of about 8.6%. It's expected now that probably by the end of the year, 42.1 lakh would be the passenger vehicle sale for the industry. And Maruti, by the way, in February crossed the last year's full year number of as far as PV was concerned. So that's been a good going. Maruti growth over the year so far has been about 9.1% against competition of about 8.3%. So we have gained market share of about 0.3, 0.4% overall. But the important thing for February was that the retail was about 335,000, which means that
Right.
there was stock addition of about 40,000 units. If you remember, Chetan, we started the year with about the month with about 265,000 stock in the industry. So the 262,000 in the industry. So now the industry stock, its channel stock is roughly just above 300,000. That's about 27, 28 days of stock. So I think now we have come back to a normal sort of stock levels. Maybe there's no more scope for wholesale to be above retail as we have seen in the past few years.
Okay. So you mentioned that the stock of the cars in the currently at the company is above 3 lakh rupees. Sorry, 3 lakh vehicles. I'd like to ask you, sir. So, is there a good news in the offing that the consumers won't have to have a lot of waiting time for their vehicles
Chetan, I meant for the industry. It's not Maruti Suzuki stock
for the
of 300.
industry? Okay,
Yeah,
sure,
Maruti
sir.
Suzuki.
Okay.
Yeah, Suzuki stock is much lower. It's about 125,000 or so. But
Okay.
overall, industry, as far as yes, the waiting periods for most of the models has been coming down ever since July of last year, actually, because that's
Okay.
the time the semiconductor issue got sorted out, more or less. And we have seen some good supply. As a result, even the pending bookings in the industry has come down, as you would have seen. If in case of Maruti Suzuki, also the pending bookings have come down, as also the waiting periods for almost all our models.
Sure, sir. Also, you mentioned about the recent gain in the market share, sir, of about 2 to 4% odd. Sir, what reasons are you attributing that to, and what market share currently are you enjoying?
Yeah, so I mentioned not 2 to 4%, but 0.4%, not 4%.
Okay.
Our market share is just about 42%. For the month of February, it was close to 43%.
Hmm.
The reason, of course, is that we have grown faster than the industry. And the reason for that has been obviously our large push in the SUV area. Since last year, we have introduced the Grand Vitara, the Fronx, the Jimny,
Hmm.
and so the Victo has given us good numbers, and that is one of the reasons why market share has gone up. Although, Chetan, ideally it should have gone up higher, but it hasn't, because one of the segments where we dominate with almost 70% share, that is the hatch segment, hasn't really grown. It is actually, in terms of the contribution to the industry, come down this year.
Hmm. Right, sir. Also, when it comes to the hatchbacks that you're mentioning, sir, a further decline is seen in cars like Alto, Espresso, Wagonar. Year-on-year decline we are seeing, sir. But I mean, do you see a revival in that segment right now, or is the company thinking to finally, halt some of the models if they are not really performing and eventually focus on the markets of the SUVs, sir?
No, no. Actually, let me tell you, the hatch market is still significant. It is 28% of the market. In fact, it is
Right.
expected to be close to 12 lakh units in the entire financial year. So it's a very large market. And Maruti Suzuki with the 70% share, our projection is that we should be selling above 800,000 units this year in hatches. So there is no question of not, focusing on some other segment. Of course, we focus on all segments. After all, our objective is to get to 50% market share, and 800,000 number of hatches sale is, it would be higher than the sale of the next competitor, all models put together. So there is no question of. As regards your question on when do we see there would be growth, and because when we see a decline in the overall absolute numbers, it does not
Hmm.
mean that the segment has disappeared, because as I just mentioned, it's still going to be almost 12 lakh units this year out of the 42 lakh units. That's the projection for the current financial year for the entire industry. So we believe that the affordability factor, which was the real reason of the decline, should reverse sometime in 2026 second half, as per the projections. If the income levels and the economic growth projections are what have been given, then I would expect the revival and upswing. Remember also that 65% of the population is below 35 years of age, and the first time buyers still in that 45-47% range. So, considering that it's a growing economy, the requirement for transportation will keep increasing. Public transport is not as good, and therefore personal transport requirement will be there. Uh, the income levels are not such that they will that this segment will small car segment will disappear. So I would expect, and all research indicates that there would be a revival sometime in 2026.
Sure, sir. Also, sir, as Maruti Suzuki continues to enjoy a sizable amount of market share, Tata Motors really overtook you in its market cap, though. Is the company concerned, or are you trying to? Will you fight back? Any comment on that?
No, no, I would not like to talk on market capitalization. Of course, I think it was for one day that
Yeah.
the capitalization was higher. So, really, your question should have been put on that day. Subsequently, I
Right.
think it becomes material.
Sure, sir. Got it. Moving on to the numbers again, sir. Sir, I wanted to actually ask you on how the SUVs are really performing. The demand for Invicto, Fronx, and Brezza, how's it going, sir? And when the Invicto was specially launched, it came with a lot of fanfare that one of the biggest SUVs from Maruti is finally coming to the foray. Tell us about the numbers and the performance of that segment in particular, sir.
So Invicto is not really a SUV. It's an MPV. It's done very well. There are supply constraints, of course, because we source it from other OEM. We are getting that just around 500 to 700 units a month. The bookings are
Hmm.
substantially higher. So there is a waiting of almost 10, 11 months in that product for us. It's done well if you consider the bookings. However, in terms of supply, we are still struggling. So that's one point. On the other front, which is France, does about 13,000, 14,000 units a month, so pretty good. And those volumes have actually helped us in getting to the number one spot in SUV in H1 of this year. And
Hmm.
even in the month of February, we were like very close, number two in SUV. We did about 42,300 or 400 SUVs, just about a few hundred units behind the number one player. So I think these models have helped us, and certainly the numbers are reflecting.
Sure, sir. That was my last set of questions, sir. Sir, if you're having a look at Jimny, sir, very small, very niche car, launched by the company. Is there a disappointment in sales numbers as far as it goes? Are you concerned that Jimny has not performed as it turned out to be?
Yeah, so if you recall, when we had launched the Jimny, we said it's a niche segment. We have done about 16,000, 17,000 units in the last 8 months. It was launched in June. So
Hmm.
it's between 2,000 to 2,005, 2005 and 2,200 numbers that we have been doing. It's a niche segment, and I think obviously we would have been happier with larger numbers. It appears that the what we have now decided is that in order to expand this segment, because it's a pure four-wheel drive, so it
Correct.
is really meant for, and its capability in off-roading are legendary. Therefore, we need to develop that market in our country through the experiential drives. And one of the initiatives Maruti Suzuki has taken in that regard is to start our initiative called Rock and Road, which is about giving experiential drives in various situations on our SUVs. And that should help develop this market. I think there has been some feedback that the prices of Jimny should be lower and we should look at a two-wheel drive option. And we considered that, and it's realizing that it has got a legacy, global legacy. The brand really stands for off-roading, and therefore we decided we shouldn't have this the two-wheel drive version, even if it the four-wheel drive means that it's coming at a higher price. And I think that is where we are. It's a fairly niche segment, and we should develop it with the experiential drives that we are planning to do now.
Sure, sir. Also, sir, we are coming towards the end of the financial year. What anticipation do you have for the industry and for Maruti Suzuki? Where will you eventually close down, and how much growth would you be witnessing, and any outlook issues that you're seeing for next year, sir?
So I think the industry projection for March is, I mean, for the entire year is about 42.1 lakh. So it's like 4.21 million. That should be a growth of almost like 8.1% over last year. Last year number was 38.9 lakh. And since this is the last month, we are like fairly close. 38.59 has been so far the figure for this year, April to February. Maruti Suzuki, by the way, has crossed the last year number as far as passenger vehicle is
Hmm.
concerned. So, March should be a additional bonus in terms of growth. I think next year the projections are slightly above 43 lakhs. That's been the projection in the Siam, and therefore. I believe what we can look at is a smaller growth, although the larger volumes for next year. Uh, this is what has been projection done for next year.
Sure, sir. And lastly, sir, any input cost pressure that you're witnessing right now, and any plans of price hike in offering?
Um, well, actually, we have seen different commodities behaving differently, and that's been quite different from the previous years, where either all the commodities were going up or they were all coming down. But we have seen a period when, while the last few quarters, there have been some softening in terms of the precious metal prices. Our steel prices seem to be hardening at the moment. Uh,
Hmm.
there is no real decision to take a price hike at this time,
Hmm.
but we obviously closely monitor the material cost, the commodity price movement before we decide on anything regarding the price. Remember, material cost is 75 to 77% of the overall cost structure. So obviously, this requires continuous monitoring, and that's what we are doing.
All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for joining us, sir. I'll just reconfirm that last bit, sir. You were saying that with March numbers included, you could probably settle down for 8 to 9% growth, better than the performing in the industry, sir.
Yeah, so for Maruti Suzuki specifically, I can give you the exact growth as of now. It is 9.1% against industry of 8.3. That's why we gained that market share.
Hmm.
For the entire industry, 8.1 is the projection
Hmm.
for including March. I can't really give you a forward number for Maruti
Sure.
Suzuki. Yeah, but you can make those projections. It's only
But
1 month.
how optimistic are you on 10% closing at 10%? It's just 0.9% left now.
See, last year we did 16.44 lakhs.
Right.
That was the total. So if should we touch 18 lakhs is when you get to 10%. 1.64 if you add to. So maybe that's a nice target to take, of course.
Sure. All right, Shashank, thank you so much for joining us. A pleasure as always to speak to you. Well, that was Shashank Srivastava, Senior Executive Officer at Maruti Suzuki, talking about the monthly projections and, of course, how the steel prices are hardening, but absolutely no impact on the prices as of now. No decision has been taken. So, if you've been watching, thank you so much for watching.